Welcome to the Catholic Forge, a conversational podcast where we gather to explore our Catholic faith and discuss how it forms our lives. All are welcome to join in this conversation and journey. Thank you for listening. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. This is Eric in Missouri.
And this is Ben in Kentucky.
Well, Ben, if you can believe it or not, this is our 50th episode, 50.
I can't believe it.
Well, you should because it's true.
I'm still happy for it to be the show's 50th. I haven't been in on all 50. You've come close to all 50. You've only missed what, one
40,
or two?
I think I'm in on 48 of 50. I think.
Yeah, and then
I believe. Yeah.
Then John comes in next with the next most, and I'm dead last with missing a few, but
a lot still. Yeah, that's okay. No, it's been a great journey so far. I am grateful that, just to speak personally, I'm grateful that the Catholic Forge began in a way with you sitting around the campfire in your backyard, years ago. So for this kind of anniversary, this kind of milestone, we wanted to just have a little fun, real casual, and we had a lot of great responses to this episode we did. I think it was episode 22 or 23, where John and I threw some hypothetical questions back and forth, and so we're just going to do that again, just Ben and I, to listen and learn, laugh a bit, I hope, and have a good time. And so this is kind of how it'll work. I'll throw the questions out. I do have the questions here in front of me, but no, I've not been, ruminating over them or anything. They're pretty fresh for me too. And some I will ask Ben to answer first, and some I will answer first. Now, as these games go, there's always room to ask about some of the parameters, right? So you'll see there are a couple where I think some clarifying questions are really reasonable, to be like, well, what do you mean exactly? That's very welcome. You don't have to take it just at face value. So,
I'm a little worried about this. That one with you and John was really fun to listen to, but several times listening to that, I thought, man, I'm glad I'm not in on that right now because I have no idea what I would say.
Oh, well, let's get started then. And also, some of these came from members of the listening community. And so thank you to those who were able to get some questions into us. We appreciate that. And before the show, I don't feel badly mentioning, Ben, you had suggested maybe the next time we do this, we should have our wives, like each of them prepare 2 questions and then hand us envelopes and we just open them and read them. And
yeah,
I feel like that could be disastrous.
It seemed like a good idea when I said it, but it might not be.
It'd be fun. Okay, our first question. This is a softball. Okay, Ben.
All right. So I go first on this one.
Sure.
Okay.
If for the rest of your life you had to choose one or the other, which would you choose? Now there are several would you rathers here in this list, and that's just, I think they're a little easier to get your head around. So, would you rather eat only sweet foods or only savory foods?
Oh, that's easy. Only savory foods.
Only savory foods. Now,
yeah.
When I hear sweet, I don't think they're like super duper mutually exclusive. Do you know what I mean? So like savory still means like, obviously it's like protein and carbs, but if you had a hamburger, the bun could be kind of sweet, or ketchup is sort of sweet too. So it's not like totally mutually exclusive. It's not like you could never have sugar or you could never have salt or that kind of thing. But you'd say savory?
Yeah, I definitely go savory. I'm hypoglycemic actually, and when you said sweet at first, I was thinking like a life of just eating nothing but candy bars and cakes and that kind of thing, which would be pretty disastrous. I'd feel just like a slug all the time if I ate that way. So I would definitely choose when you say savory, I think, like you said, I think like buttery kind of, I don't want to say like your fats and oils and stuff, but that's what comes to mind. And I'm a super skinny guy, so I can afford to have some fats and oils in my diet anyway. If that is if that is in the savory category.
Well, and indeed, like you say, like buttery, butter itself, can be very sweet in a way,
Yeah, on the taste buds. Yeah.
Right. And so, of course, I have to choose savory as well. There's no question. Because, I mean, the question is, do you ever want to eat a steak again?
Oh, yeah.
Or now, that being said, if I go savory, that may, now I'm not trying to throw a wrench in the gears, but if you only, now this is food, granted, but if you say savory, does that take wine out of the occasion or the equation? Bourbon, probably, because it is so sweet. I mean, even rye and stuff has such a high sugar content.
No, I mean, hands down, wine is very sweet. Even a dry red wine is sweet compared to compared to a beer.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I'd still have to stick with my answer because I know how I do feel if I even just on a certain day if I've been somewhere I'm just eating a lot of sweet foods, I know how it makes me feel. So for my own health, I'd probably still stick with savory, but it would be hard to write off the wine. That does throw a wrench in it.
And to write off your beloved Ghirardelli.
Oh yeah,
dark chocolate.
See, I'd have to get a attorney involved there on the definition on defining terms because it's dark chocolate. The sugar content is so low. Some people don't even like it because it's so bitter. They don't even like it.
That is true. I know. I've been over to people's houses and they said, "You want this dark chocolate?" And it's some triple organic, whatever.
93%.
Some kid in Ghana made it with his feet. I don't know, Ben. And they give it to me, and I'm like, "Whoa!" I mean, it's like, because in your head you're still thinking Hershey's, right?
Oh yeah.
And then it hits your tongue, and you're like, "What?" It's amazing, but it is not the Hershey bar, right?
Okay. Yeah.
All right, that was see, Ben. That was excellent. You're off to a great start. Now I will go first this time, and I have no idea what I'm going to say. Would you rather never hear music again, or never see colors again?
Oh.
I'll go first, and I would ask of the room, just you and I, some clarifying questions. So obviously, like the most important of all, can I still see green light, red light, yellow light? Or will the colors be replaced by like textures in my mind so I know when I'm driving? Although you feel like you could make reasonable sense of the traffic if you were just paying attention. But
so
do you know what I mean? Like
you're saying, is there kind of like a safety disclaimer? Like, could you still have your safety sense about you?
Yeah, I don't have a cigarette lighter here with me, but I mean, if you lit a cigarette lighter, or if someone handed you a flame, how would you see the flame? If there was no color to it, because it would just be, it would be nothing there. I guess I don't know how I'm gonna say that. I'm not a big science guy, but you know what I mean. So like within reason, and the same with, and that's why I kind of contoured the question to never hear music, because obviously you still need to be able to hear. Well, obviously you don't need to be, but many people don't. But to never hear sound, but never hear music again.
Yeah. Let me throw in for helping you decide. I think, and I could be totally wrong on this, people might be shouting at their speakers, but like a person who is colorblind, I think if they were, like, say they couldn't perceive orange and yellow, if they were looking at a flame, they would still see, like watching a black and white movie. They would still see the object of the flame.
Flicker. I don't know what I'm sorry, I sounded like an idiot, Ben. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah.
No, just giving you that to chew on so that you can make an informed decision here.
Okay, so I think, golly, gee, I mean, you think the music thing would be obvious.
You'd be out of work.
But I mean, well, not necessarily, but because Beethoven wasn't out of work.
That's true.
You know what I mean? But I mean, the sunrise, or the blue of the sea, well, I guess, I mean, technically speaking, the stars would look the same in the sky, but not the moon, not the starlight, not Mars. The way, I mean, I'm not trying to, turn the heat up, but like the way a woman's face blushes or your wife, I mean, you know what I mean? Like the way that people respond to you, like, you know, a person's eyes when you look into them. Golly, gee, Ben,
This is tough.
I really want to say music, really. I mean, I really want to say color, just like I listen to music, but and they complement each other so profoundly, you know. Oh, I'm gonna sacrifice music.
Wow.
I can't believe I did it, but I did. At least I feel like I mean, maybe like Beethoven, I could like sense the vibrations of music, you know? Just like when people drive down the street and you know that boom, dum, 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 boom, like that. So you're like, oh, I love that song or whatever. But so maybe it's like that, or I can read music, like when I read music off of the sheet music, I can hear it in my head, not perfectly, but you know, like
because you already have that catalog.
Yeah, it's like I know what I'm looking at. So because I mean, to lose all color, golly gee, and I'm thinking of all the things that I've not seen yet that I want to see in color, like the Grand Canyon, you know, or the coral reefs, you know, or whatever, or when I'm buried in orbit and I can look down on the Earth from outer space, you know. So that's a really tough one. But I really want to see in color. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, well, that really surprised me because I would have answered for you. I mean, you're a musician. That's what you do. I mean, you just wrote this, you know, awesome rosary set to music, and I would have definitely answered it for you the other way. But now myself, I'm not a professional. I love music. I mean, as you know, I play guitar a little bit. It's an important part of my life, but it's easier for me to say. I mean, I would also have to sacrifice music because the colors, like you said. I mean, right now it's fall. The leaves have been changing on my street.
Absolutely.
And I was actually just thinking driving home today, the leaves, they kind of defy our modern age of trying to preserve it. You know, even with our phones and trying to get a picture immediately, they are brief. I mean, these trees that were like vibrant yellow just yesterday, in 24 short hours, I noticed driving back in this afternoon, they had already gotten dull. And this is where the color comes in. It's almost imperceptible. You couldn't even describe, if you were to describe it in words to somebody, it's the same yellow. It's just not as bright as it was yesterday. It changed overnight.
That's a great way to say it. Yeah.
You know, and so like that little hue, I mean, just such a small change still affected the beauty of that tree so drastically. So, and yeah, I'm like you. I've so many things I still haven't seen. And then of the things I have seen, like, you know, seeing the Colorado Rockies and just all the different shades of white, you know, the snow, depending on how the shadows was, you know, falling on the mountains, and it would be hard to give that up. And then, and like you said too, I mean, right now we were just talking the other day, trying to determine what color Olive's eyes are going to be. You know, they've been changing since she was born. They actually kind of look gray now, like, but we know they probably won't stay gray because how many adults do you know with a gray looking eye, you know?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So yeah, that's really hard though.
When we were in West Virginia, that I mean, like, you know, you get up into the eastern part of the country, even beyond Kentucky, and the fall changes and like the watching groups, that's a real thing. I mean, tour groups that go out into the hill country, I mean, like back deep in there, and we'll spend, I mean, you know, like the prime days watching the trees turn and fall. And it's like a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal. And that's like one part of the country, you know, not to mention, I mean, the Northern Lights. I mean, you know, just like it goes on and on, you know. But that being said, like, music is awesome. Like, it pains me. I want to change my answer, but you can't. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could. There's no rules here, but you know, it pains me. But I think we've both made maybe the better choice. I don't. But God darn it, ever to hear Hotel California again? Okay.
By the way, do they call in West Virginia? Do they call those people leaf peepers?
No, I don't think so.
In the
I don't believe
Northeast,
so.
my dad's from Vermont, so I've got a lot of family in Vermont, and maybe it's my family. Maybe it's not a known term, but the locals, because if you're not familiar, I mean, the Northeast is known for its fall foliage, and all
Yes,
the
indeed. Oh, yeah.
changing colors. So the locals get really ticked because in the fall, so many tourists flood the roads, slowing down. They'll be driving and they'll be slowing down to look at the leaves. So then if you're a local just trying to get to work on time, you're behind this, tourist looking at all the leaves. So
Yep.
it's kind of a derogatory term calling them leaf peepers, like,
A little bit. Yeah.
because they come in from like, New York and Boston
Sure.
and all that to check out the country scenery. But yeah, this side note.
Well, let's stick with music. Since we're here, since we just
Yeah.
we just
Since
left
we
it on
just
the cross.
forsook it.
And this one, actually, the sweet and savory was kind of from Michael, who listens to the show. Thank you, Michael. And this one is from Sable, who you know, and I know.
Oh yeah.
And she knows me especially. So this is why I asked you before the show about your favorite bands, and you'll see when I go through it why like we need to spin it a little bit in your directions. This is what she said. She said, "Okay, Eric, this one is specifically for you." But I did ask her. I said, "Can I ask Ben too?" And she said that was fine. Would you rather play one concert? So I guess I'll just say I'm playing piano or keyboard or whatever. Would you rather play one concert with the original members of the Eagles? So that's Glenn, Don, Randy, and Bernie. So play the concert with the original members of the Eagles, and after it's over, the concert, never see any of them again, or get to know them or anything. Or would you rather bring back Glenn Frey from the dead, and the two of you become close friends over the next several years, get to know each other's families, etc., but never make music together? So is that clear to you, Ben?
Yeah, I think I follow. So you could be a part of the music. You could be on stage in that moment, participating, feeling the rush of the crowd and all that, or have the friendship.
But no music at all. Yeah.
Yeah,
not like we could talk about it ostensibly, but not.
But
like,
never just pick up the guitars and
yeah,
play.
it's not like I'm gonna go over and be like, "Hey, you want to play this song?" Yeah, like it's not like that. So you gave me a couple options for bands here, but now that you've heard the context, like, would you say there's something that speaks to you? Because Oasis, I think that did any of them? They even passed away. I think they're all still alive, right?
No,
all
they're
members of Oasis.
Yeah, they're all still alive. They're not a band anymore. They've broken up,
Yeah.
but doing solo stuff.
But we have, like, you also said Bob Dylan, and obviously he's still alive and kicking. But I guess the same kind of question, like, you could play a concert with Bob Dylan, 1965 Greenwich Village, right? Or you could be like his best friend, but never set foot on stage with him, or whoever you want to put in there, whichever group or person that you want to stick in there. So what's kind of your thinking on that?
All right, that's tough. And I mean, you just asking me beforehand about a favorite band. That was a hard enough question because, like I had told you then,
Sure.
I've
Yeah.
always had a hard time saying a definitive favorite. It's always been like a top 5 with spots 4 and 5 kind of like rotating as
Right.
depending on
Yep.
the decade
Yep.
or whatever.
Yeah, right.
But so in the case of Bob Dylan, which he's like instilled in me by my dad, so I've been hearing Bob Dylan since I was a kid, and that's why he's a favorite. But I think in that case, I would rather be friends with. I'd rather just have the friendship of knowing him, because what really intrigues me about him, like so many people, I mean, are the lyrics. So I'd rather get the chance to mine more of what's in his head, personally, than the on-stage experience of, just strumming some chords and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I may regret that because I don't really know. I honestly haven't read like in-depth biographies or anything. He's kind of a private type guy, and I don't know what he would be like in person, but so I would choose that for Bob Dylan. I would be friends with him. Oasis, they're a weird band for me because, man, I love their music. There's just something about the hooks, the choruses. Yeah. It's just fun. It's just really fun music for me. I would definitely choose the concert with them because I have read enough, and I hate to say this, but they're actually pretty horrible people. I mean, in their personal life. Like they don't, from whatever, they don't seem like nice people. They don't seem like people I would want to be friends with or be around, because there's a lot of questionable, moral choices.
Sure. Yeah.
That I wouldn't want to put myself in with. So I think with them, I'd rather just, get the fun of playing on that kind of stage. And I'm, we're talking in their prime, right? Not now. So like go back to like mid 90s when they were filling stadiums.
Yeah. Sable indicated the original lineup.
Okay. So yeah, for Oasis, original lineup would be like early 90s, mid 90s.
Right. Yeah.
Playing humongous amphitheaters in England or whatever.
Yeah.
So I would just, Oasis, I would just choose the fun of it, of playing and say, hey, nice to meet you. See you later.
Yeah. That's what I want to choose. This is really difficult for me, not only because it's the Eagles, and Sable knew that she could strike deep at me by bringing the Eagles into the conversation. But first of all, I'm sad to say I don't think that Glenn Frey was actually a very nice guy.
Oh, really?
At least I know he wasn't. I mean, I hate to say that on his grave because he's dead.
He has a nice sounding name.
He does have a nice name, but he from Don Felder's autobiography about his time in the Eagles, and some of the evidence that we have, it seemed like he and Don Henley just really made life in the Eagles really miserable. Very much focused on the success and the money. During the 70s, when they were so big, it was definitely focused on the money and the the company and the drugs and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then especially with Don Felder, they nearly came to blows over that. And Glenn, I think, was much of the reason why Don eventually was fired from the Eagles entirely. And so I think that it's hard to reconcile that with wanting to get to know him better, because what if I became friends with him and discovered it was all totally true?
Oh, yeah.
And even though maybe he changed, and I know that later in life he recorded that lovely, I know people probably don't like it, but that lovely album that's a bunch of American songbook standard tunes and stuff. He recorded it for his parents. Really beautiful music, but way out of character for him. I think he changed a lot later in life, but even still, and that he never, this is what Don Felder talked about after Glenn died. They never reconciled, neither of them would speak to each other. And that really, I think broke Don's heart, that because he loved those guys, and it broke him that they all made mistakes, and so that's why I'm going to go with the concert. Although if she were here, I'd ask her. I didn't ask Sable, but I would adjust it though to the 1977 years. So it's Don, Glenn, Joe Walsh, Don Felder, and Timothy B. Schmidt. Those are the Eagles I prefer. But if I have to take the original four, I'm not complaining. If I get to sit on stage, I feel like I'll be like their Billy Preston, because Billy Preston was on whatever their last album was called, Abbey Road, right? And so he played a bunch of keyboard stuff, and he's kind of famous now for being the fifth Beatle. Well, maybe I could be the fifth Eagle. Man, I don't know. But I mean, I love him dearly. I love him. He's my favorite Eagle. But I think that I know as much as I know about him, I would be uncomfortable to get really close to him and find out that it was true.
Isn't that weird how, because I feel like that's kind of similar with my feelings towards Oasis, and not putting them anywhere on the level of fame or legacy of the Eagles necessarily. Although I think in England that might be, and they have a little bigger name for themselves in England. But isn't it weird how we can be attracted to, or there's kind of this charisma and magnetism of certain people, even though, and they produce this, they can produce some really amazing, beautiful art or whatever their media is, but like you said, you get to know the backstory, and it's do I really want to dip my toe in those waters,
I feel the same about Glenn Campbell, who just passed away. I love this man's music. Important songs in my life, but he was not a good man. deeply afflicted by drug addiction. He was
Yeah.
abusive, physically abusive to his wife and to his kids, emotionally abusive. Now, we give God glory. He found Jesus and he was saved, and he turned his complete life around. And then, of course, to suffer the cross of affliction and Alzheimer's in his later days. But even then, like, and actually, we know, I think that he was abusive again in his later days as well. The Alzheimer's, though, not by his choosing, we don't imagine. But even then, like, just to know that he was that way in the past, like his whole thing with Tanya Tucker was like super public. Everyone knew about it. It wasn't hidden away. And so it's like, maybe I would almost, and I mean, I don't mean it just because I like these guys a lot. I kind of mean in general. I think I kind of just rather would just love the music,
Yeah.
you know, and just stay there. I don't know if that's ignorant to say. I don't mean to like belittle myself or cut myself down, but do you know what I mean? Kind of.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because the music, that's what they put forth for other people to have.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they wanted or were even proud of all their, I mean, who of us is proud of all of our, personal secrets and habits and all that. So, I think that's perfectly fine to say, hey, I like you as a musician, but I don't want to imitate you in any other way. Sure.
Well, we've got 2 questions left because we're about out of time. And so we got 1 question about Lord of the Rings and 1 question about Star Wars. Just to really bring it home. Okay. So we'll take Lord of the Rings first. If you had to take the place and person of any member of the Fellowship of the Ring, who would it be and why? So to set the stage, like, you magically transported to Middle Earth, and who should be standing in front of you but Gandalf the Grey, and he says, "Oh, I have just the thing for you to do," and then suddenly you're transported to the meeting of Elrond, or to Rivendell, and you must become one of the members of the Fellowship of the Ring. Who do you become and why?
All right, that's tough. I'm a little rustier on Lord of the Rings. It's been a long time since I've read them, and even a while since I've seen the movies. So I'm going to make a lot of diehard fans mad if I answer, or if I say something ignorant, like would
you like me to refresh on who they are, who the members are?
Yeah, I've got a couple characters in my mind, and I'm thinking to myself, I mean, I know Frodo and Sam, and
So we have, so that's a good place to start. So Frodo and Sam,
Gimli.
Merry and Pippin. So the four hobbits.
Yeah.
Gimli the dwarf. Okay. Legolas the elf. We have 2 men. We have Aragorn and Boromir, and of course Gandalf the Grey, the wizard.
Well, that clears. What I was really trying to figure out in my head is refresh and think: were Aragorn and Boromir members of the Fellowship, or were they just like accompanying helpers? But
They were members. Yep, they were fully fledged members. Yep.
All right, so to not drag it out unnecessarily long, because I'm probably not going to come up with any better details if I keep searching my memory.
Sure.
I'm going to say Aragorn, because, and for a lot of superficial reasons that real fans can get mad at me for, but and even worse, reasons that are influenced by the movies and not the books. 1, Viggo Mortensen, is that his name, right?
That's him.
He's a tough actor. I like him.
He is awesome.
And I'm picturing his face as that character, ever since the movies were released. So,
without question.
Obvious, and then he's human, so I can relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
He's the rightful king. And
yes,
am I remembering correct that he had the romance with Liv Tyler?
He gets the girl, as it were.
Which, when I was in high school when that came out, had a huge crush on Liv Tyler. I mean, so
from when That Thing You Do and all those movies she was at.
Awesome. She was everywhere in the 90s. Yeah,
Armageddon. Yep.
Yeah. So for all of those superficial, having nothing to do with the storyline reasons, put me down as Strider.
Well, that is a strong choice, and a very honorable one, I would say. I mean, there are so many great characters here. Of course, knowing what we know, I don't know why anyone would choose Boromir because he dies. A really awful, brutal death. Gandalf because he pretty much dies. He's not resurrected. He's resuscitated. But I mean, he fights the Balrog,
Yeah.
and literally falls through the entire world. Not literally, but I mean, like, pretty much, you know. And then he leaves anyway. He leaves this reality and he comes back. But then when he comes back, he's like awesome. But then he seems really detached from reality. I don't know.
Like he took a few hits.
And then why would anyone would choose Frodo and say,
yeah.
get stabbed by a giant spider and then get captured by orcs and then get stuck in a tower and be naked for like 2 more years and then have to walk across border with your best friend.
Wrestle with the temptations of the ring the whole time.
Yeah. Be flirting around with that. Betray your best friend. Almost kill your best friend. Or almost be killed by your best friend. But then you get to go to Valinor in the end, and that's pretty great. That's pretty great. I'm gonna pick Gimli, son of Gloin. Not because of my dwarvish appearance.
I was gonna say you've got the beard already.
Thank you. But there's something really striking to me about his little like mini romance with Galadriel.
Oh yeah.
That he wants one strand of her hair and she gives him 3. And there's something really like when we eventually get to the Lord of the Rings episode, you know, that 20-part thing, the Ken Burns level that we'll have. There's something really powerful about that. You know, just like kind of what we talked about in that interview with Robert Fiducia, like the disciples asking Jesus, like, Lord, teach us how to pray, like, Lord, show us, you know, and Gimli coming to Galadriel, like, in this little tiny itty bitty teeny way, like, give me some part of you to have. And she responds to him generously. There's something about that interaction with her, like sort of her divinity, that really speaks to me.
I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, and then also I mean, I'm not saying that I'm like really proud, but he's really proud because he's a dwarf. That's what they do.
Yeah.
But he's also so like just his devotion and commitment. I don't know. Not that I'm I'm not an outstanding a champion for those things necessarily, but he really speaks to me, and that he's willing to throw in, and also that he gets along famously with someone who should be his lifelong enemy, and that's Legolas the elf, you know. And so I'm not saying I do that, but I'm saying that I feel like that's a good lesson to learn, a good goal to aim for, you know, that striving. I think that the Legolas Gimli relationship is very kind of Catholic Forge-ish in a way, because they learn from each other, and eventually they really love each other, and the playfulness they have of, well, how many did you kill, and that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So Aragorn and Gimli it is. Last question, Ben. This one's an easy one. If you were a Jedi, what color would your lightsaber be? I would ask if you were a Sith, but they kind of only have one option. So.
Yeah, theirs are all red, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Now, and I have in the past 2 or 3 months, so this is fresh. In the past 2 or 3 months, I have watched episodes 1 through 5.
My man.
Of Star Wars. So, I mean, this is as fresh as it gets.
Woo!
And I'm still fuzzy on how many colors can they be. I feel like in the movies I've only seen blue and green. Am I wrong, though? Have there actually been shown more than blue and green? Or
yes.
Regardless of the movies, am I allowed to choose any color?
Well, okay, so let's not dig too deep into the lore, but yes, you can choose your own color. It has much to do with the crystals inside the lightsaber, inside the chamber.
Okay. And
so, but for example, Mace Windu, portrayed by Samuel L. Jackson, his is purple. Right?
Okay.
I think at the Battle of Geonosis, also where you see Mace Windu's lightsaber, in episode 2, I think that you see some yellow lightsabers, and I think you also see is there a teal
there may be
of some kind, yeah. And so there are all kinds of colors though, yeah, for sure.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go with if I could get the exact hue of sunlight, so not yellow, you know, not just like a generic primary like Crayola yellow. And not orange, but I mean like perfect sunlight, orange-yellow blend.
Sure. That's a great answer.
I feel like it's got a lot of purity and power behind it to defeat evil.
Yeah, that's very powerful. I did already answer this question on the Star Wars episode, if you don't recall. But I would definitely every day, all day long, I would choose that emerald green from Return of the Jedi that Luke has when he builds his own lightsaber. Just so iconic. I mean, thinking about it in the forests of Endor and on Jabba's pleasure yacht or whatever it is, and so that's it for me. Well, this has been the Catholic Forge, and thank you for just having a little fun with us. It is fun to do these every now and then, just kind of little games sort of thing. I wish we had more things like this we could do, but this is a nice kind of departure from the normal, kind of deep structure conversation.
Good. Happy 50.
Yes. Happy 50 to you, Ben, and thank you for, your willingness to support and everyone listening as well. Let's have 50 more, shall we? I hope so.
Yeah.
And what else to say? Oh, yeah. I mean, just glad to continue the effort. We'd like to close this episode, as always, with a prayer and a blessing. May God the Father,
God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit bless you, guard you, and lead you to eternal life. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for listening to the Catholic Forge. We hope you've enjoyed this episode and will leave us a positive rating. How about 5 stars for 50 episodes? And a positive review on iTunes, SoundCloud, or YouTube. You can continue the conversation with us on Facebook and Twitter, and to get a hold of us, you can reach us at thecatholicforge@gmail.com. For more information regarding the podcast, visit our website at www.thecatholicforge.com. We especially thank our colorful wives. We can see them because we chose to sacrifice music. We thank them for their continued support of this project, and oh yes, we thank you very much for listening.
If you had to shave your head or your beard, which would you choose? You can have like a really short hair and a big beard, and then you've still got like that apostle look, Whereas a clean shaven face and long hair, you can wind up with like the Michael Bolton look.